Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Bad Careers. This is the Thanksgiving edition where we are going to be discussing a very important topic, the topic of gratitude, a trait that helps us really take our lives and careers to the next level. It helps us build up resilience. It helps us overcome things that are seemingly bad, seemingly the worst things that could be happening in our lives. But with this concept of gratitude, we're really able to overcome and ground ourselves in all the good that actually surrounds us, even in circumstances that may not seem that good in the first place. So I'm one of your hosts, Eli Beaumont, international career coach, co-founder of Your Career Strategy, and have helped thousands of individuals gain clarity in what it is they'd like to do next and navigate successfully into meaningful work. I have my co-host here, Coach Peter Hill, and Peter, I'll let you take it.
Sure. Unmuting myself with the caveat that working from home sometimes throws unforeseen noises into the conversation. So for anybody who's watching, if you hear a sound like somebody is buzzsawing or doing remodeling upstairs, that's because that's exactly what's happening. So anyway, thanks, Eli. Coach Peter here. And like Eli, I've been a multiple time career changer. I've been very, very blessed and fortunate that my changes have taken me around the world. I've lived and worked in Japan, lived and worked in China, in the UK, delivered programming across multiple continents. And along the way, been really fortunate to have supported thousands through my one-on-one career coaching, tens of thousands through programming, keynotes, seminars, and whatnot. So Eli and I love doing Breaking Bad Careers on a fairly consistent basis. And sometimes we just share what comes to mind with regard to a particular topic. Sometimes we do plan it out a little bit more intentionally about what we're going to talk about, how we're going to talk about it. But for today, it's Thanksgiving here in the U.S. We recognize that some of our viewers are not in the U.S., but we are in the U.S. and the idea of thanks and gratitude is not. It's a global phenomenon. It's not just something that we practice here in the US, and it's something that we recognize as being important for everybody around the world. And so we thought today we'd just kind of run with this topic and start off by sharing some ideas about what both Eli and I are grateful for and seeing where the conversation goes.
Yeah, we can start there. If Do you want to kick it off, Peter, or you want me to take it? Go either way.
No, I'm happy to kick it off. I mean, I was thinking about this question of what I might want to share today, and for me, it really is about kind of the entirety of 2021. Right? We came out of 2020 in this kind of pandemic mode, and we came into 2021 with a lot of uncertainty and anxiety and a lot of other emotions, and I think what I'm grateful for is all of the people I met during 2021 without getting on an airplane and going anywhere.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm used to doing. Now, to be fair, I did do one trip. I went down to Central America and I met some amazing people there. But for the most part, it's been right here in my home office, reconnecting with people around the world, some of whom I've spoken with more recently, but others like I literally haven't spoken to in 7 or 8 years. And I can't say that had it not been for this whole work from home COVID situation, that I wouldn't have reconnected with them. But it certainly was an opportunity to be more intentional and reach out to people I haven't spoken with in a while, people I care about, and just reconnect with them. And it's been an amazing year. I mean, I've had conversations with well over 200 people, and different people from literally all over the world. And I can't say that I would have hit that type of volume If I'd been doing things kind of the normal, the pre-pandemic way, you know what I mean?
It's damn near impossible.
So yeah, so that's what I'm grateful for. And I can unpack all the amazing conversations we've had. Um, but the ability to reconnect with them and even find like really meaningful, genuine connection through the webcam.
Yeah,
It's totally possible if you want it to be. And yeah, so that's what I'm grateful for.
love it, man. Love it. Um, on my end, I can always take it a bit more personal, and this year I was lucky enough to get engaged, to meet,
Yeah. Woo.
yeah, yeah, and meet a partner, like a true partner in my life. I talked about like negative experience and how we can get so caught up, right? And I always think back to a few years ago when I was heartbroken. I was in a situation where I really didn't see how my romantic and partnership life could ever come back to being where it was before. But it was interesting because what I learned was that as good as I thought my life was before, I needed to go through kind of like a reality check from the universe. It was just kind of like a little, hey, buddy, um, yeah, it may seem like everything's good, but something is off, right? And I wouldn't have realized that something was off unless this bad situation occurred. So had that situation not occurred, I wouldn't have put myself out there. I wouldn't have been very intentional about the type of person I was trying to meet. I wouldn't have been open to meeting my now partner who challenges me to grow in amazing ways, who loves me more than I've ever experienced with another partner, and is someone that I can truly see life elevating and growing with, right? And it's pretty cool to just kind of say, well, damn, I needed to go through hell to then come on the other side to experience heaven in this situation. And it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting because that gratitude now comes in strongly for that negative experience, because had it not been for that, I wouldn't have what I have today, right? To have this other thing that I'm so grateful for today. So that's probably the thing I'm most grateful for most recently, I would say.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And the first thing that comes to mind is um, the impact of how we're showing up in our personal lives, or the way we show up in our personal lives is kind of the same way we show up in our professional lives.
100%. Yeah.
Like you and I are entrepreneurs. We coach people who tend to be more in traditional careers, although we do sometimes work with entrepreneurs also. Um, but the importance of the idea of work-life balance comes up, but that's not exactly what I'm alluding to. It's kind of like work-life energy balance,
Mm,
where the way you're showing up in your personal life is going to affect how you show up in your professional life, whether traditional or non-traditional, and vice versa. And how you're showing up in your professional life, sometimes we bring it home to our families, right?
always, always. It's super, super interconnected.
Yeah. So my question for you is, um, knowing I know you well. I know the journey you've been on, and I know the the impact that your new partner has in your life. And so my question for you is, how is this impacting the way you show up as a coach and as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. It's so yeah, gratitude is definitely needed on the professional side, right? Because um, what's great about having, so first I'll just tie it into the partnership. So having someone who will support you while you're on an entrepreneurial journey like this, and who trusts you and who gives you, I keep this back here, but a congratulation card on making it to the first year of being a solo entrepreneur or running a little business. Like that's pretty freaking cool, to have that type of support, right?
Yeah.
So because I am so grateful for the partner that I have, it causes me to treat her really well with love and respect in turn. That brings in love and respect. And that is love and respect that I could then bring into every coaching session that I have, every encounter that I have, every meeting that I have, and almost everything that I do. So it's actually really cool to have these aspects on the personal side that I'm grateful for, which then elevate and then bring in more gratitude for everything that I can start doing freely on the professional side without doubting myself. Um, because it's easy to get into self doubt, but when you have others believing in you and pushing you forward, I mean, we as coaches are that for a lot of our clients. We are
Mhm.
the confidence that confidence in them that they need to establish and that we support them in establishing before it's there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool to have that, and that definitely feeds into the professional side. But I'll throw it back your way. What about you, Peter? From a gratitude perspective, how does gratitude feed your professional growth and success?
Yeah. So I think for me, I think the best way to illustrate or to communicate what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling about this is kind of like that picture frame or that window that you have on the world. You know, when you're looking out um, at what's going on around you, and you're making judgments about what's happening every day, right? And and you head into your day with expectations and
Mm,
um, expectations for growth of your business or expectations for just a good day, whatever it might be, right? And it's so much easier to head out into our work and our personal lives when the frame is gratitude, right? Like starting the day with gratitude. And, gratitude journaling is a big thing. It's a thing these days. I get it. Um, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's basically what I'm saying. It's like, let's ground ourselves in gratitude and pay attention to this stuff because, um, what's the alternative? The alternative is grounding yourself in seeing problems everywhere.
that's just it. I think you shared a story about a client of yours that was kind of doing something similar to that. Um, could you take us through that?
Yeah. Yeah, sure, sure. So yeah, I am working with a client right now, a senior executive in a technical industry, and high performer, super intelligent, super analytical, um, the kind of person where um, you know I, we kind of take a look at every area of life, and they're bumping up against a lot of tens. Not everybody's not everybody's at a 10 in every area of their life, but this client is quite high on the scale on various areas of life. So the question is, how do you take things to the next level? If you're at a 9 or a 10 in relationships, how do you take it to a 12 or a 13? um, and I do career coaching, right? So it's career
Mm,
and mindset coaching. And so in general, you know, there's like 8, 9, 10 conversations around what's going on in career. However, there's a situation at work which is impacting his thinking around next steps. And in conversation with him, I was noticing as coaches, we ask questions. That's what we do. Not primarily, but questions are an important tool in our toolkit, right? So I noticed that when I was asking questions to gain clarity, to maybe help guide his journey of insight and reflection, I noticed that a lot of the responses were kind of problem oriented, right? And as a coach, as an empath, I kind of get, I have to like resist being sucked into that little problem mindset and getting frustrated myself as a coach. But I could feel it. I could feel the emotion because coaches tend to be empaths, right? And so a lot of his commentary and questions back to me were kind of problem oriented. Why is this happening? Why is so and so acting this way? How am I ever going to overcome this problem? How am I ever going to, if I have to leave this company, how am I going to find another job that pays me the same? These types of conversations. So as a coach, I called him out on his bullshit and I said, hey, did you notice that for the past half an hour, you've been talking about nothing but barriers and obstacles? And if we could somehow find a way to be grateful for what's going on here, and kind of inventory, like how could life be working for me right now?
Yeah.
And that's a big question, right?
That's a huge question. That's such an important question to ask, period. I mean, anyone who's watching and who's experiencing problems is what is life working? How'd you say that question again? You said it so well.
Yeah. So a fundamental distinction that I subscribe to personally and also professionally is that life, I'll use the word life, but you could substitute it. You could substitute God, Allah, universe, source energy, whatever you subscribe to is fine. No right or wrong. Life is always working for our greatest growth, our greatest benefit, our greatest good, our greatest evolution, and our greatest prosperity, however you define prosperity, and that includes our bank accounts. And so anything that's not aligned with that is where we start feeling like dissonance and resistance. Okay, that's kind of a frame that I teach and I look through, and I was trying to help this client consider, without preaching, but consider that life is working for him right now. And it's to understand how it might be working for him starts with a simple step like, what can I be grateful for? Despite all the stuff that's going on, what simple thing can I be grateful for? Right. Yeah. And so we worked through it on that coaching call, and there was a bit of a breakthrough when he recognized. He's like, oh my God, I never even noticed I was being that way.
Yeah.
And it'll be a work in progress over time, but that's the story of the client I was sharing with you earlier. And I think the last thing I'll share is when he had that little breakthrough, I could literally see his face and body change. And he settled into this like relaxation. And he exhaled.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's so much that life teaches us every single day, especially in our professional lives, especially when we're facing potentially layoffs, when you're not feeling heard by your management team, or you are you haven't been getting that performance conversation that you've wanted to have for quite some time, and it keeps getting pushed off. And really, it's that question of like, well, what can I be grateful for in this situation is able to, like, it helps you really just kind of turn around a negative situation and opens up new doors that you can start to pursue. Well, maybe maybe now that I have been laid off, right? A situation that went through back in April 2020. Not something I was expecting, but something I went through. It opened up severance, which was great. This was actually, it could have been terrible that, oh, I don't have a job anymore. What am I going to do? I have to look. It's a pandemic. Who's going to be hiring right now? I could go down a negative rabbit hole. But instead, it's like, oh, I have a few months of severance. That's awesome. What can I be doing with my time now? And looking at all the things that I actually enjoy and what been wanting to do, including starting your career strategy with you, Peter. And if you look at that, it's like, oh, well, had I not been laid off, had I not gone through that situation, which is less than ideal, and had it not forced me to push closer towards my destiny, which life always does, I wouldn't be sitting here. I would still be doing something that was adjacent to the path that I'm supposed to be on. And it's just really interesting to see what points of gratitude you can find amidst just the absolute worst situations that you might find yourself in currently. Um, so that story is super helpful, Peter. I think it gives us a lot to think about when it comes to how we can look through optimistic lenses in hard situations, and also helps us become a little bit more aware about what we're thinking and what we're saying to ourselves, so that way we can just kind of snap ourselves out of it and start asking ourselves more important and more impactful questions.
Yeah, Eli, what you've just shared inspires me to consider the idea that when we're stuck in say a problem frame, and we've all been there, right? You're like drowning in overwhelm,
Yeah.
and because of the survival nature of our brains, it's like we do whatever we can to survive. And what tends to happen when we are focusing too much on problems is it becomes super difficult to create clarity about what we really want, right? Whereas if we're able to chip away at that, and just baby step by baby step work on being grateful for even the smallest things, it can actually help us create more clarity on what we really want. And then in a way, kind of reverse engineering that is, when we have a really clear vision of the impact that we want to make in the world, whether it's Coach Eli and Coach Peter as entrepreneurs who each have their own kind of missions for who they want to impact and how they want to make the impact, and some of it overlaps. But then for our clients and just more traditional career people working in corporations, having more traditional job and that type of career trajectory, if you have a sense of why you're doing that, why you go to work every day, beyond the paycheck, beyond sustaining your family, of course that's important. That's why it's one of the reasons why we all do it. But the real why, right? When you have the real why and you're really clear in it, and there's plenty of resources out there to help you find out. Lots of great resources. A lot of them are free. A lot of them you pay for, like coaches like Eli and me. But however you choose to do it, when you gain that clarity, it actually makes it easier to focus on gratitude. Because when you ask that question to yourself, how is this working for my greatest growth and my greatest good? Well, then your greatest growth and your greatest good is linked directly to the vision you already have.
Yeah.
right? And so it becomes a more fluid conversation, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it sounds so basic, right? But
Yeah.
it's one of the most impactful things. What I found when coaching individuals is if these feelings of resistance start to come up, or there is this lack of motivation, call it laziness, or just not inspired. Every time I do this, I start feeling like something's going to go wrong. And like these deep feelings of resistance that people feel usually are because they've lost sight of that deeper understanding of why they're doing what they're doing in the first place. So always tying back to the vision that they've seen for themselves, that they've created, that they've written out their vision in life, why they're pushing forward over the next year, over the next decade, over the next 2, 3 decades, directionally. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's the legacy you want to leave for yourself, for your family? Um, and understanding, and I think you talked about this concept of like micro steps, um, because sometimes these visions can feel so unattainable. But if we're able to break things down into digestible, bite-sized pieces, as it relates to, okay, well, eventually I'd like to be there. I'm nowhere near that now, but I can start doing these small little iterations of actions every single day, or once a week, or once a month over the course of the next year, several years. You end up driving slowly towards that destination. You start seeing it, and it starts becoming more tangible, and that feeling becomes insatiable. You're so close. You want it a bit more. Um, so if you're feeling like things are really hard right now, and you're like, Thanksgiving, what do I have to be grateful for? This is just what a freaking year. It could have been anything. Could have been loss in family. Could have been loss in work. Could be lack of appreciation in career. It could be challenging moments in a relationship. Um, could be so many things. But you have to ask yourself the question Peter laid out: how can I grow from this moment, and how does it align with the direction that I see myself going in, the type of person that I want to become in this lifetime. Um, yeah, it's a small thing that you can do, and maybe you're having a tough time answering it, but don't get flabbergasted the first second you can't come up with a response and you go down in a negative rabbit hole again. That's normal as humans, right? You really need to give yourself the space to, yeah, allow those negative emotions to come up. You're allowed to be negative, but that's not actually the the lenses on your glasses, right? You're those little lenses that like you can flip up. Well, they just keep falling down. You just got to keep flipping them up and realize that they've gone down. So that way you can see clearly. Um, but it's up to us to be building the muscles of that awareness to understand when we are going negative, and continue to ask ourselves these questions to help push us back on the right path, on the path of resilience against the situation we're in. Yeah, you're muted.
Sorry, they were making noise
Yeah, of
upstairs.
course.
What are your thoughts on the idea of, gratitude and expressing gratitude being like energetic deposits into the universe or the greater good?
Yeah. So I personally believe, I'm much like you, Peter, that everything that we put out there verbally, in thought, or in action, uh, is reciprocated, right, or multiplied to a certain extent. So when we tell someone that we appreciate them and we give gratitude for the moments, even the hard moments, all of a sudden the universe hears that and they're like, oh, I like that you're seeing this right now. I like that you're seeing the bigger picture. I'm going to give you something in return for that, right? It's similar when you give that thanks, or when you give of yourself, even when you're feeling a little bit scarce, like, oh, I don't have a job, but this person asked for money, or this charity that I know could really use it. Like, I just give it, and you got to trust that it's going to come back. Because if you don't really believe that, then you will get exactly the energy that you're putting out there, right? Like if you're depositing like bullshit and then you go and you try and take out money, I'm sorry, but you're going to get a handful of bullshit from your life's ATM. So, right?
Sorry, that's a great analogy. You got the flip glasses, and you got
Yeah,
the ATM of the universe.
I like the bullshit ATM of the universe is that one's just on the fly, man. But yeah, I totally agree. And I think energetic deposits, we need to be cognizant of that because we're making them every day, almost 50,000 times a day through every thought that we put out there, right? It's like, wait, are we? Yes. Yes, every negative emotion that we feel, every negative thought that we speak to ourselves, every action we could have taken that we choose not to take, that's all that's all being fed into our bank account in the universe, right? And then what we get to take from that is exactly what we put in. So that's my perspective on it. How about you, Peter?
Well, it's a loaded question. That's why I asked it. Of course, I agree. And um, it, the thoughts that come to mind are like the I teach some of this stuff, right? And I occasionally get maybe pushback or commentary in return, like, oh yeah, well, I've been grateful and grateful and grateful and grateful, and nothing's happening, right? um, and it sometimes requires a lot of patience, I guess, is what I'm getting at. you know um, this is a marathon type of stuff. This is not sprint type of stuff. It's not about being grateful twice a day for the next 3 months, and that'll turn on the switch of all the abundance that I'm hoping to get in my life, right? um, I mean, that's one thought that comes to mind. Is it's a patience game. And well, we have to energetically put ourselves in a place of gratitude versus problems, because that's what the universe responds positively to. The other thing that comes to mind is, like, just like day to day. I mean, who wants to hang out with somebody who just complains all the time, just focusing on
No,
problems?
other people who complain all the time.
Right. Right. So in a way, and I hadn't even thought about talking about it in this way, but being a grateful person makes you more attractive. Makes you just someone that other people want to hang out with. You know.
Yeah, man, 100%. Ah, this it's like our forget the ATM. It's like our 401k of deposits, man. Compounding interest over time, and it's just like we just kind of forget that it's there. But yeah, it's wild. It's wild. But I do encourage anyone listening here today, like if these concepts seem a little bit abstract, oh, these guys are full of shit. They're so woo woo. What are they talking about? It's like, hey, you're allowed to believe whatever you want to believe. I know Peter and I have tried this stuff out, and it works for us. But I'm pretty sure it works for a lot of people who actually give it the time to marinate and who really challenge themselves on a daily basis to continue to do that growth work. Uh, and it's tough to do it alone. I looked to Peter during some hard times in my life, and he supported me with this process. I looked to a therapist at another time. I've had several of them over the course of my life so far. Like, I've looked to friends and other peers who are, who do have greater outlooks. I try to surround myself with people who build me up, not break me down, right? And that coupled with mindfulness, trying to practice catching negative thoughts when they come in, not latching onto them, letting them go, and doing that not just for a year, not just like 5, 6 years. I definitely don't do it as much as I used to, but those muscles are still there. They got developed, right? And it just requires a bit of time and dedication. And it's not going to come like this. So, whatever you need to do, the little steps, if you feel like you can get them started today. Get them started during this holiday season when gratitude is at its peak. And if you need support doing that, find a coach, find a mentor, find somebody, a friend, someone who is going to be a positive force in your life, so that way you can be more reflective on the gratitude.
Eli, that when you shared that, what came to mind for me was something that Einstein said.
Wow. If I can
Among other
if I
things.
can if I can invoke things that Einstein said through my own words, then I'm doing something right. Take us there,
Okay,
Peter.
here comes my inner Einstein. Um, um, one of the most important decisions we can make is whether we live in a friendly or a hostile universe,
Profound.
right? And if we can decide that we live in a friendly universe, which most people would agree that's the case, that's a good starting point for gratitude, right there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
something else that just came to mind was I don't know if you've come across this, Eli. There's a resource online called I think it's called Messages from the Universe or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Have
No,
you seen this one?
I haven't.
Yeah, so you sign up for Messages from the Universe, and you get a message from the universe every day into your inbox. And one I got a few days ago was um, oh, what did it say exactly? Here I am on the spot, and I've forgotten exactly what it said.
It's all good, man.
But it basically was reminding me that your friends are me in disguise, something like that. So
Yeah.
basically, it was the universe telling me, like, hey, everybody you surround yourself with, all the people who've crossed your path in the past, all the people that cross your path today, and who will cross your path are there for a reason, because it's me sending you a message of some sort, right?
That's it.
Um, and so even being grateful for simple things like that, if you can acknowledge that, like there's a lesson in every conversation, there's a lesson in every friendship. What a beautiful thing, and what a beautiful thing to be grateful for.
Yes, sir. Going into the Thanksgiving week here in the United States with a lot of
Yes.
gratitude, a lot of gratitude for everything that we built, our friendship, our relationships, um, the fact that we have our needs met on Maslow's hierarchy, compared to so
Yes.
many others in the
So
world who who
so
are
grateful.
who are struggling and challenged with all those things, and just checking ourselves, not falling into the trap of like, oh, that means the universe is bad. Look at all this negative stuff. No, no. Be grateful for what you do have on in your journey and where you can give. And when you give, you're gonna get, and that's all you need to do.
A
Control what
hundred
you
percent of
can,
the time.
100% of the time. So I don't know if there's anything else we'd like to share, Peter, but I'm think I'm that's it. like beaming with gratitude. That's all I got left.
I feel pretty complete, my friend.
Cool.
But yeah, let's tie a bow on this Thanksgiving edition of Breaking Bad Careers. I know we talked about some what for some people what can be some a deep topic, but um, we're Breaking Bad careers, which to bring me back to my first acknowledgement, which is the way we show up with um, in one area of our life is the same way we show up everywhere else. So if we can work on gratitude in one area, it'll help us show up more powerfully in our jobs and our entrepreneurial paths, whatever professional journey we're on. So there you go.
Yeah. So basically, step the hell up and show yourself some gratitude.
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
All
Right
right,
on.
Dan.
So we'll be back at this in a couple of weeks.
As always, this is Breaking Bad Careers, and we wish you a wonderful Thanksgiving here in the U.S. or a wonderful week of gratitude everywhere else in the world.
Yes, yes. Happy Thanksgiving from the U.S., everybody. Take it easy.
Bye.